didn't really have like a big business in mind. It was, I just wanted to solve my own problem that I was finding.
As long as you're passionate about whatever you're doing, even through the hard times, secretly you actually really enjoy it.
You've got to accept that it can take failure to get success. Literally just take that one step.
Yes, you could save money doing it all yourself, but you're never actually getting the boots off the ground. Therefore, to scale, you need to outsource.
My top tip would be like network and get to know as many people as you can that can offer advice and can be in your space and support you.
Because knowledge is power. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I have the pleasure of welcoming Jordan Tuck, the owner of JLux Fit. But before we begin, just like to say a big thank you to Casita Properties, the UK leading property company when it comes to off-market discreet buy-to-let sales. All the links will be in the description below. Jordan, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, really good.
Thank you. Excited to have you talk about your business, your journey, what you're doing now. I think it's going to be relatable and hopefully inspirational to everyone who watches, that taking action and getting started can lead you on to something pretty cool. So just give us that overview of who you are and actually what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan, founder of JLux Fit. JLux Fit is a female activewear brand born out of inclusivity. JLux Fit is about feeling empowered, feeling supported, and feeling confident. And a little bit about what I do, well, mainly just the founder, really, and everything else in between. My current status for JLux Fit is I'm focusing on scaling the business and delegating other roles, which is really exciting, which means bringing on lots of new team members.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been watching, I can't remember when I can't even remember where I first came across you, but it looks like you've got an awesome setup and like almost certainly from the outside, a really cool infrastructure and it just looked like a really cool brand. So that's why I reached out to you. So sort of tell us a little bit more about how it actually started and a little bit more about your background to where you are now.
Yeah, definitely. So JLux Fit came about because I struggled to find activewear as a plus size woman. I was about 4 stone heavier than what I am now. On my weight loss journey, I was struggling to find supportive activewear on the market that was 1, like affordable, 2, that fitted right, and then 3, that made me feel good in the gym. And I really, really struggled to find that whole combo, really. And so for me, I was like, well, why don't I try and create something? I've always kind of known that I wanted to do something a bit different, and I've always had that drive. So for me, it was all about solving that problem that was my own. So it started off as a hobby. It wasn't really, I didn't really have like a big business in mind. It was, I just wanted to solve my own problem that I was finding. And I found that there was loads of other people having the same issue. And then from that, I knew that I could help other people. And then we're starting to build this community of women, which is just incredible. And seeing their response to the problem being solved is even better. So I was like, why don't I 10 times this? And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I've seen from some of your engagement, and anyone who hasn't yet seen, go check out Jordan's page, is that I've seen some of the comments, and I think where I first reached out to you actually was saying that I dropped you a message. You've got a lot of engagement and there's a lot of positivity around it. And it does seem like, you are really solving a problem for many people, or, like you say, gym wear anyway is really expensive. Like it's so expensive for any body shape. I mean, yesterday, for prime example, I was like, right, I need a new gym t-shirts. Just went straight down to Primark, or as my son calls it, Primary, or whatever it was. But that is the thing. Like everyone would love to kind of buy the Gymshark, the Alpha Elite, and stuff like that. But paying £70 for one shirt or gym t-shirt is too much, and it's not affordable for everyone. So I think what you're trying to focus on and really solve is really cool. And by the comments, you can see that there's a lot of engagement around it. So it's really cool. When was that light bulb moment for you in terms of knowing that you had kind of that business mindset about you and actually, ultimately has taken you to where you are now?
It was around February 2020. I'd done a little bit of research into like starting a brand, and especially a clothing brand. seen how hard it was, and then thought, well, I've got to do it now. So there was no real for me light bulb moment that I say that I completely turned, because from a young age I always knew that I wanted to have my own business, and I think that's because I've always been super independent. So I find that the light bulb moment as such wasn't to have a business wasn't a thing, but to have a fitness business was definitely February, where I was like, I was working out so much during sort of that time, and I was trying to get on my weight loss journey. For many people that will know me will know that I've had like a lot of sort of health problems. So weight loss I've always struggled with. So for me, I needed to solve the issue of feeling confident in the gym. Like I didn't like being there in that clothing. So, and the only way to lose weight, as well, not the only way, but one of the ways to lose weight is to exercise. And I enjoy exercising. So, and it's good for mental health, isn't it? And I think that for me, I needed to be able to exercise, and therefore I needed to be able to exercise in wearing something.
Yeah. And you've built a really good brand. That's the other thing that I want to pick your brains about, is that it seems that there's quite a lot of competitors out there in terms of clothing brands, shoe brands. And when I look from the outside, it seems like, oh, it's quite competitive in terms of how do you really stand out. And obviously you have built a great brand, and what I like is you have all these like photo shoots, and they looks like great vibes when everyone's there anyway. Like, it looks great fun, but it takes a lot of work to do that, and I know that as well from, you know, setting up like the podcast and stuff like that. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. So how have you managed to kind of you know grow that kind of brand on social media when it is quite hard?
I think realism, 100%. The brand is built on realism and real people, real models. We use our community in our shoots. So we get our community involved in all of our shoots. They can come along, enjoy, be a part of that, meet the team, and just really feel great. And there's nothing better than that. And for me, the community that we're building is what's growing the brand, because when you get like something that you like, you recommend it to your friends, don't you? And that's how JLux has grown ultimately, because people recommend us. They like the product, they like what we're about, they like the inclusivity, and they like that they can be a part of it. It's not just a brand, it's a community, and that's the difference, I think. And it's relatable. You see me on stories all the time. You see the team. We try and show you as much as we can. And then we bring you along to like PR events when we do influencer collections. And people can really, I think, relate to that. And when we're now trying to do as much relatable content as we can. And I think that's where people see that there's a difference between just like a gym brand just putting like logos on clothing to someone that's actually trying to solve a problem for women. And I think like all of our designs are designed with that person, with the people in mind. We will look at how a person feels, whether they're size 6 or whether they're size 24, and we'll put them in that product. And then we will make sure that before we release that, we know that that product is suitable for those sizes. So, and we show that to them, and people can see that, because when they buy the product, it is.
Yeah. The other thing is as well is that when you're serving or solving a problem, that's normally when businesses grow really well, opposed to focusing like financially.
Yeah.
When you look to serve the mass and you try and sort of solve a problem in any business, that's when they tend to do pretty well. How have you found, especially starting the business, because and it's going to lead me on to another point, how have you found, especially when starting, being the owner, the marketer, the editor, the organizer, the cleaner, everything? Because it's hard, isn't it? Like, but balancing that is, I suppose, that point of where it really tests you. And you mentioned now you're at a stage where you can, you know, offload and leverage other people's time and energy and expertise. But in the beginning, how did you find being all roles? Because it's tough.
I think at the beginning, I actually really loved it. I know that seems absolutely crazy, but I am the type of person that's on the go all the time. Like, I just never stop. And I think that's just me as a person. So it was good actually to focus on like my energies and channel them into something that I was truly passionate about. And and that was really great. But don't get me wrong, it's very, very difficult. Kind of, you have to. I think at times I would say I was never really present, and I would say to my friends, I'm really sorry, like if I'm not giving you my everything right now, but my mind is thinking about like 10 other things. And I think I just had to be open with people about that, and they understand, like your closest friends, family, they do understand, and it can be really tricky, because you are juggling so many roles. But as long as you've got the support around you to be able to do that, I think that's what makes it easier.
Yeah, I think you do enjoy it, don't you? There's
Yeah.
that, we do stress out about it, but I agree with you. Although sometimes I'm doing multiple things and I think, oh my God, this is driving me nuts, or there's not enough hours in the day, there is that deep part inside of me that actually thinks, well, you don't moan, you actually enjoy it, because you're passionate about it. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? As long as you're passionate about whatever you're doing, even through the hard times, secretly, you actually really enjoy it. I'm going to throw a bit of a spin on this, and I've brought this up before, and I think it's a bit of a taboo conversation. It's a bit controversial, but I believe that it is very real, and it's a conversation that I suppose needs to happen a little bit more in terms of females when they get into business. There are some females that would love to jump both feet but are hesitant because whether they're going into a predominantly male industry, or perhaps they haven't got the right mentor, because I would definitely say there seems to be more male mentors than there is female mentors. In the day and age that we're in now, especially with all the social media platforms, do you think it's quite tough for women to look at business and go through that hardship of starting a business when, we look at the likes of like TikTok and, companies like OnlyFans, where they're basically really exposing to women that actually you could do this? And do you think that's an issue?
I mean, personally for me, I wouldn't say that, well, not that I've had the impact that being a woman has been an issue for me. I would say being a younger entrepreneur has definitely been an issue. But being female, I don't think because you're not going to know either way, really, are you, until you're really in a situation that can occur. And it is a question that I've been asked a couple of times. So I wouldn't say that personally I've been through it and that I think that it's really difficult. I think that starting a business in general is really, really difficult, and you've got to accept that it can take failure to get success. But I can't say that personally that for me it's been because I'm female. I would say it's more the difficulties that I've had is that because I'm young, I haven't been taken seriously. And then that for me has been a struggle. Whether that's because I'm a female as well, I don't know, because I've never really asked. And you wouldn't get told anyway, but
Yeah.
it could be. But for me, I've always felt that it's more because I'm young as opposed to being a female.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's tough. I mean, the whole age thing, hopefully that's something that's kind of like dying out, but I know
Yeah.
it's there. I mean, it's even like with tattoos and stuff, I still you still get judgment on age and what you look like. But I know that I've seen a lot more podcasts recently, on bigger podcasts, where they're almost now promoting, they've had some like OnlyFans women or people who have started, very different businesses to like legitimate businesses.
Yeah.
And it's almost spoken about quite highly and what they're earning a month. And then I'm, other people and myself are sitting there thinking, it's almost like you're squashing a real kind of business venture, what you could do and aspirations that you've got. And it's openly being said now where millions of people can view it and saying, well, you could just earn an easy 30, 40 grand a year. And I think that causes, especially to the younger generation, some tricky decisions. But in terms of females that might be watching this, because I know many that are in my groups that they really want to get into it, but they hold themselves back because they're either going into a male-dominated industry, but they really want to start. What would you say to those that are kind of on the fence and they are just a little bit unsure of getting into business, or aren't ready, or, on the fence?
I would say the first thing, literally just take that one step, the one step that you can take, whether it's doing the research, whether it's looking at a domain name, for example, because you want to get that completely done first. Please, everyone, get that done first. Or whether it's simply reaching out to someone to ask for some advice. I think that my top tip would be like network and get to know as many people as you can that can offer advice and can be in your space and support you. Because for me, I've done a lot of networking over the years throughout my previous jobs and things as well. And I feel like that's really put me in a good place, because I've had so many people to turn to ask, oh, what would you do there? Or how would you look at that? Or what do you think of this? And I think that has helped me progress so much. And because something that someone has in their head could mean so much more to you than it does to them, and it could take you from, I don't know, 5k a month to 10k a month, for example, because just implementing that one bit of software or that one extra step within your sort of funnel journey, and all they've done is just told you one thing, and I think you only get that when you get to know the right people. So 100% network is, for me, is key.
Because knowledge is power.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're talking to people that have been there, done it, honestly, I could sit here and talk about it all day long, because it's what I involve myself in every single day, is leveling up who I'm working with, who I'm connecting with, and making sure that they're, if I'm listening, I'm learning. And which also ties into the fact that, from my point of view, you don't necessarily need to pay huge amounts of money for a mentor, because there are a lot of successful people who are just really happy, and most successful people love to talk, and if you get them around a coffee or a breakfast or whatever, they'll spiel most things anyway, and you just got to absorb it and take it. So networking, honestly, I back you on that. Like, I couldn't mirror that enough. So what would be what have been your biggest hurdles, actually? Let's start with that. What have you faced and you thought, God, that was pretty tricky, but someone sitting here or listening would think, oh, okay, I'm coming up to that, but I could avoid it now that I've just listened to you. So what kind of hurdles have you come up against?
I think in my industry, because this is more industry specific, I would say like the manufacturing whole supplier process was really, really difficult. And I don't think anyone ever stops with that, because you're constantly looking at new suppliers and you're constantly working with that journey. And so the initial one was always the hardest. And I think finding out that the process that you go from getting kind of your sketch to end result was really hard when you have no clue about textiles. I mean, Don't get me wrong, I did textiles in school, but I don't know how to create a piece of clothing that goes through a factory. So that whole process was really hard, and I think I learnt it the hard way. And I know some people say sometimes it's easier just to pay for things rather than waste, because hours are time, and time's money. So if you waste all of that time, you're going to be wasting a whole lot of money, because that's your time. So if you just if you've got to pay for a course to do it, for example. So I would say that's been my hardest thing, was like learning that whole manufacturing process. Now we've got a team that does that and manages it, so it's a lot easier. But I've learned it all, so I know it all now, which is really helpful. So I would suggest like learning it as well. But if you've got someone that can point you in the right direction, as opposed to trying to learn it yourself, I would say that's a lot easier.
And how important has it been, because I know this is for every business owner, to know your numbers? Because not everyone knows numbers in the beginning. Some people look at it and it's all gobbledygook, but it's really important to know numbers, what's going in, what's coming out. What's coming in, what's going out, should I say.
Yeah, numbers is really important. I was honestly horrendous at it at the start. It's not my forte whatsoever. But recently we've put some software in place, and we're capturing so much more data, which is just incredible to be able to see how everything comes together, especially in the numbers world. So it is so important, because ultimately you've got to know whether you're going to be able to place that next order. And if you don't know about that, then, and you're planning collections like years in advance, it's going to be difficult when it comes to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love numbers. Not everyone does. I mean, I'm rubbish at maths. I can't do maths, and give me a calculator and I'll work out most things. But it is, for anyone watching, I would say that's probably up there in the top 3. You need to know the numbers, and if you don't, you can't really run a business if you're not knowing what's going on. Like you say, you don't even make the next order. What can you pay for? What you can't. So what I want to touch on now is the growth of the business obviously needs capital. Any business needs capital of some sort, whether it's your own or whether it's not. But a lot of people will always sit here and watch, okay, I love the story, love to get into business. How did you actually start? Because people like to know that, was it a case of you just saved up your own money and you had your own startup capital and it was little by little, step by step? Or did you bring on a partner that said, right, I'll give you a lump sum? How did it start for you?
So I actually lent some money off my nan to start. I lent £5,000 off my nan to start the business. And then we recently got some investment, which is just loan investment. And that's it, really. That's all. We haven't given away any equity. It's solely owned by myself.
Kept it really simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to do it. When you start bringing on equity partners and stuff like that, giving away shares. So I like that because that's kind of, there's no excuse for anyone, and you don't need a lot of startup capital, do you now, really?
And honestly, money, like someone told me this like we were speaking about it the other day, money is everywhere. People want to give you money.
Yeah.
Like they want to find like small businesses and businesses that are wanting money. There is money out there. You've just got to, I think you're scared. And I was so scared to lend money. And I think that just stems down from like just generally just I just didn't want to lend any money. But so that for me was a really hard obstacle to get round. But now I'm round it, I'm like, right, when do I need the next?
Yeah, you realise it's
the only way to grow.
Yeah, it's not the biggest obstacle. It's about, again, it kind of, it's it's two in one. It's about who you know, so that comes from your networking as well. And then it's also, I think it's your case study, like, offering a really good business model, which again ties in with the whole knowing your numbers, knowing your business really well, being passionate about it so people can really buy into you, the business owner. Do you think that this is a conversation that comes up quite a lot, and I suppose we're just sort of reconfirming it. Do you think it's really important that as a business owner, you are seen by the clients, by new clients, that you are at the front of your business, opposed to the business sitting in front of the owner?
I think for me, yes, definitely. I've had to. I started off being the other way round. I didn't want to be known as the owner. I just wanted to take a back seat. I didn't like being in front of the camera. But as soon as I took that step and now everyone knows me, that's how the brand has grown. Because when people see you, they can relate to you and they can see the story that you've been on. They can join the journey that you're on as well. And I think that if they don't know the owner, it's almost like speaking to a brick wall, isn't it? Because there's no one there that you can reach out and just say, well, there's a team or a person, but I think people like it because if they've got a problem, they can go to them if they want to have just a general chat. And like I said, J Looks Fit is about community. So it would be pretty difficult if I wasn't in that community, really.
No, I totally agree. And when it comes to social media, I mean, do you deal with that yourself, or, because again, it's like one of those things we all know subconsciously we need to be on it, especially if you're trying to build a business or brand. Like, there's no getting away from it, but we don't always want to do it. It's tough. Do you manage it yourself now, or have you sort of managed to outsource that elsewhere? So
we have a social media and influencer manager called Chelsea that does a lot of our socials, but I do pop on quite a lot. So I do have a look and I keep an eye, and I'm always on. I'm like replying to customers and stuff. So I'm always still logged in and like looking at what's going on and seeing how the page is performing and just making sure like the customers are okay if there's any queries. But also I just like seeing like all the pictures that everyone's tagging us in. It's so nice. So although yes, I've kind of taken a step back from like the planning aspect of socials and the running, I am very much on it.
So how long did it take you to outsource? Because that's something that a lot of people would love to do, but don't have the luxury yet of outsourcing job roles, mainly down to costings, I believe. Most people would try and do all that themselves. How long did it take you to get to a stage where you can go, okay, cool, right, we're in a position now where we can now look for this as a role and we can outsource, and then now we can get time back as a business, as an owner, to now look at it and grow it?
About 1.5 years. But I would say I probably could have done it sooner. And I think that the reason why is it's very hard to delegate once you're doing everything yourself. I think the first is always the hardest. But I think that you even there's never a good time, and I think that, as in, there's never a good time to like make that first step. Not that it's not a good idea, but I think that it's really difficult to, in your head, realize that you need to actually do that. But as soon as you realize that it might cost you however much it costs you, but that potentially could make you like 10 times what you've paid out, because your time is going elsewhere. So you're focusing your time on doing something else, which is bringing money in from there, and then they've come on and they've got a fresh new mindset. They're actually doing it probably better than what you were. So therefore you're growing, and then when you grow, you're going to hopefully make more money.
Yeah.
So it's like you probably won't be able to afford it initially, but you still got to do it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Again, balancing act, isn't it? It's like it's timing as well, and it comes down to this whole, is a theme amongst all business owners and all podcasts that we've pretty much done, is this whole like return on time invested. Yes, you could save money doing it all yourself, but you're never actually getting the boots off the ground. Therefore, to scale, you need to outsource and stuff like this. As we come to a close, what has been impactful in your journey, your life, whether it be a book, something you've watched, basically just something that, sticks in your head that you could perhaps share with the audience? They could go away, look at it themselves, something like that.
So I went to see Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett live, and that was absolutely incredible. I think seeing it live, I've read his book, listened to his podcast and things, and so seeing him live was amazing. But a book, definitely, if you're in the e-com space, is 12 Months to a Million. And I think that's by... Oh, I don't know who it's by.
I've heard of it.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have.
I got the
We'll
name in
include
my
the link
head.
in the description.
Yeah, but it's honestly just the things that he comes up, the tips of how to get like your e-com brand and your product, and just like the initial tips are just really helpful. And I think that anyone that I've said has asked me, I've always said like, just read that book. That was one of the first things I did, and it seems crazy, but yeah, it really helped.
It's funny, the guest before you also said Diary of a CEO as well. I mean, it is a great podcast. That's the thing. You can learn so much from so many free resources, and you don't need to pay huge amounts of money. Like I'm a massive fan of Audible.
I love Audible. And
I don't know, I'm going to quote it now. I quote it all the time, but I'm probably I'm going to take a guess, 2 months. Do you know what? I'm not going to take a guess. I'm actually going to tell you how much I'm on at the moment. I'm on 29 days, 2 hours and 40 minutes. I actually thought it was a little bit more than that, but I've re-listened to so many books, new books, and that's just constantly evolving. And I think it's really true. You don't know what you don't know. And if you don't go and seek new information, you can't really grow as a business, as a person, stuff like that. So self-development's like massively important, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. Self-development, like being able to there's so much information, and it's there. So why wouldn't you want to develop your skills, learn about new things, learn things that are going to impact you and your business? And I think that from like a mindset perspective as well as a business perspective, because I think that relationship between business and mindset and everything else is so important. And to have the right mindset, for me especially, can be very important. So yeah, I think it's just it's healthy. I love learning new things. I've always been that type of person, so it doesn't seem like a big thing or a task. I just enjoy it.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And if you got a team around you as well, it's quite inspirational for them to see that you're learning, because you feed that down, don't you? And like if they're seeing that you're evolving, it's good to be a part of someone who also wants to strive for more. So yeah, it's really important. Jordan, it's been a pleasure. Where can people reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, cool. So people can reach out mainly on Instagram at JLuxFit, and Jord_JLuxFit is my other one. And then Facebook's JLuxFit as well. We don't have Twitter, but yeah.
I don't have Twitter either. I don't know who has Twitter now.
Thank you so much for having me on here. It's been amazing.
No, absolute pleasure. And everyone who's watched so far, thanks so much. And we will see you all very soon.